Welcome to the Life Lesson Stories. Today we are going to discuss the summary of the Brothers Karamazov, Book 12, Part 2 by Fyodor Dostoevsky. Katrina takes the stand again, inexplicably changing her position on Dmitri, showing the courtroom Dmitri's letter stating that he would kill Fyodor for money. The court asks her why she hid this evidence, and she answers that she had been trying to save her lover at all costs. But his infidelity and lack of appreciation had finally gotten to her. She could take it no longer and felt she must tell the truth. Grushenka flies into a rage and insults Katrina for her duplicity, and the courtroom erupts into bedlam. The prosecutor closes. He earnestly believes that Dmitri is guilty and that the crime is despicable. He talks about the declining morals of the Russian people, among many of whom honor has been replaced with sordid intellectualization. He attacks Fyodor for his rampant sensualism and selfish greed. He says that the old man's action must have made the son bitter and angry. Nevertheless, he says, this awful doesn't excuse the horrible murder that he believes Dmitri committed. The prosecutor analyzes each Karamazov brother, including with the accused. He says that Dmitri has been both passionate and desperate, which are two telltale qualities of a murderer. He adds that Smerdyakov had neither of these qualities, putting to rest the theory of his guilt. Also, he points out that Smerdyakov had a seizure the night of the murder. The most remaining piece of evidence against Dmitri is the letter that Katrina showed the court. He asked the jury to convict Dmitri of parricide. Dmitri's lawyer is somewhat of a celebrity, and the courtroom is excited to hear his oration. He speaks precisely and warmly, changing the prosecution with malice and speaking with sensitive plaintiveness. He begins by setting out to prove why all the evidence against Dmitri is questionable. He made subtle jibes at the prosecutor for his psychological inferences, pointing out how psychology is a knife that cuts both ways. He explains how psychology could as easily prove that Dmitri is a sympathetic, impulsive man or a cold, calculating fiend. Hence, psychological evidence is questionable and independable. Besides, he adds, other pieces of evidence don't make sense. For instance, there is no proof that Fyodor had 3,000 rubles for Dmitri to steal. Dmitri's explanation of where the money came from is as good as the theory that he obtained it by robbing Fyodor. The defense sees great leaps of imagination, as if the events that have taken place are part of a great novel. The defense lawyer next explains how Fyodor was a horrible father, neglecting, abandoning, and generally abused the boy. Dmitri was a misguided youth who essentially grew up without a father. In addition, Smerdyakov's guilt is called into question again. Finally, the lawyer argues that prisons are for reform, not punishment. But convicting Dmitri will actually ruin his chances for reform. When he finishes, the courtroom erupts into applause. After a brief respite, the jurors return and pronounce that Dmitri has been found guilty. Over the din of the courtroom, Dmitri yells that he is innocent, that he forgives Katrina, and that he wishes his family will take care of Grushenka. He is led out of the courtroom. The summary of the Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky is completed now. Here the question is raised that why would Dostoevsky end his novel with the wrong character being convicted of a crime? The wrongful conviction points out the injustice of the world, unless it is the justice of conscience after all, succeeding even though the state has been incorrect in this particular determination of right and wrong. Does Dmitri need to suffer for his life? Does Dmitri deserve to go to jail, even if he didn't kill anyone? Insofar as Zosima's idea of punishment involves one's own conscience, true justice is personal or spiritual, not political. Thank you so much.